Hey friends, this is Bridget Danner from Women's Wellness Collaborative, and I'm here again today to answer one of your questions, which is how do I support breast milk production? And I was really excited about this question because it's something I have worked on before. In my career as an acupuncturist, I treated a lot of women for fertility and pregnancy and postpartum, and I was getting some frantic calls and emails. My breast milk isn't coming in. What should I do? So first thing is, while you're still pregnant, you really should do some research on the foods and the ways that we make breast milk. Because when you have your baby and there's so much going on and the milk isn't coming in, it's a hard thing to correct in that moment. You don't have the herbs, you don't have the food, you don't know what's going on, you've got this baby, you've got to feed all the time. It's very stressful, and if you're having trouble, they'll often have you pump in addition, like when you're not feeding, so it's like you're constantly have something on your boob. It's like not fun at all. So I really, really encourage women to just get familiar with lactation beforehand. And you can't really take the herbs for lactation before you give birth, but you can have them on hand, right? Like as soon as you give birth, you could start these herbs. And all the foods for lactation you can do beforehand because they're just normal foods, basically. So let's get started. So foods that are good for lactation, the ones that I recommend the most are oats and oat milk. You can buy oat milk in like a box at the natural food store, or you can also make it yourself. Barley water, it's kind of like a tea that they drink in Korea. That can help. Also, kind of the green superfoods like wheatgrass, spiralina, chlorella, those can help. You need beta-carotene to make breast milk, so carrots, beets, and yams. Tahini is good. Green papaya, if you're living somewhere tropical. Brewer's yeast, turmeric, garlic, and fennel. So those are some foods to think about. As far as some like superfood type of things to think about, cod liver oil, bee pollen, and maca. And then some specific nutrients to consider are vitamin D, K2, and B12, and also choline. So vitamin D comes from the sun or grass-fed butter or animals. And sometimes if you buy like and K2 will also, and if you like I use a tincture that is vitamin D with K2 because they help each other absorb. So you can get your hands on that. And the choline is from eggs, and I think you can get that in brewer's yeast. You have to double check that. So those are some foods you could start eating, when baby's coming up. So some herbs to have on hand, and you might be able to get this at your natural food store in like a mix already made. If you're into herbs, you can make your own mix for tea. So for these herbs, these can be ordered online in a formulation for lactation, or you can kind of mix them up yourself. If you're kind of an herbalist, you might be able to find them locally. So some of these are fenugreek and goat's rue are a couple of the big ones that I hear about a lot. Hops, blessed thistle, nettles, red clover, alfalfa, black tea, cumin, caraway, dandelion, and anise. So those are some ideas on herbs, and again, you could probably get that pre-prepared. I would just get it and have it just in case, because if you don't need it right away when you give birth, you may need it later when, you go back to work and your breast milk slows down, or your baby's sick and your breast milk slows down. It's really important to stay on top of it and not let it slow down. You go away for a weekend and you don't pump as much as you should, or you have a long day at work, the production will start to go down. And once it goes down, it can be hard to bring it back. I definitely would agree with that. So having that, skin-to-skin contact with baby on your breast, super important. If you work a job where, your partner can bring the baby and have the baby feed versus using a pump, I think that's better, even if you can only do that sometimes. Some other things to consider: stress. Some of that signaling for lactation comes from hypothalamus pituitary, and if you're stressed, it kind of squeezes on that. It might not be functioning correctly. So, you know, maybe taking a little more time for yourself, resting with your baby. You know, I know it's a busy time, but just valuing the time to relax is important. Hydration is needed for breast milk production. And then I would just say enough calories and carbs. You are feeding another human. It takes a lot of extra calories, so don't be worrying about your waistline or trying to get back in shape. You'll burn those calories from breastfeeding. So eating fatty, nutrient-dense foods, and also carbs. So carbohydrates and grains are known to produce milk. So if you're like trying to be super paleo and you're not having any grains, you know, if you just can't tolerate grains, I guess that's one thing. But if you can take a little bit of grains, I think it's okay. We also mentioned like the yams, so you could be just doing more starchy tubers. So I think that's mostly it. I hope that was helpful, and we will write some notes down there below. And you are welcome to send your questions for me for your reproductive years. You can email me at through our website, Women's Wellness Collaborative. You can subscribe on YouTube to be kept informed, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.